participated in International Women's Day, and you saw the strong show of the party. Patriotic Front literally took over all those possessions. We had the largest number of our women participating in the process. So the party is intact. The party is growing, mobilizing. Yes, of course, we have the matter in court, but for us, we are determined. For the Constitutional Conference and General Conference to elect a leader, the Central Committee, as they meet, will finally determine on those issues.
All right, just the two other issues before we get to the other topic, Mr. Mwamba. Does this affect you as a candidate?
No, not at all. For us, we want to have a general conference that will build the party, not that will destroy the party. We don't want to have a conference that creates splinter parties where people cry foul that they are not properly represented or they are being disadvantaged. We want, as one family, to prepare for 2026.
You were working with the late President Chiluba, and I take you as being part of the MMD as well, together with the others. We have this audio which has actually leaked, where the three are saying they do not want MMD hijackers. How did you receive that audio?
First of all, well, like everyone else, it was on social media. I picked it up and I contacted the three individuals cited in the audio. There is a gentleman called Victor Kapungwe who calls himself Mr. Ground, and he was introducing these two leaders, speaking to these two leaders, Honorable Chimbakambwili and Honorable GBM. In my discussion, they both denied, especially Honorable GBM and Honorable Chimbakambwili, denied they ever had that conversation. They don't remember having that conversation recently or in the past. So, but we'll wait for them to speak to the audio. There's misunderstanding. President Michael Sata came from MMD. We should make it very clear. He formed a splinter party in 2001 when President Chiluba adopted President Levi Mwanawasa. The structures we built, because I joined the Patriotic Front, began to mobilize for it from 2002. Because you remember that Dr. Chiluba and President Mwanawasa fell out, and our political ally became Mr. Sata in 2002. And so I have been with the PF since 2002. The parties we mobilized, the members we mobilized, were from MMD, because we had to build the party. So most of the people that we got from Lusaka, from Copperbelt, from Northern, from Luapula and other provinces, clearly we had to, literally dismantle the MMD in those areas to make them PF. The issue of PF, MMD for us doesn't arise because a member is a member. Whether you come today, you are a member, and rights accrue to you. Whether you joined in 2020, whether you joined in 2015, you joined in 2016, doesn't matter. The party is very, very clear. We have members that came from the UPND, from the ULP, from MMD, from many political parties that make up the Patriotic Front. It's a party that welcomes everyone, both in leadership and amongst ordinary members. We don't discriminate that this one belongs to which political party. So I thought I could make that very, very clear.
0211293435 is the number that you'll be calling us on. Now, Mr. Mwamba, last week Saturday, or maybe, is it last week? Because tomorrow is Saturday, so let me just call it last week. We saw a group of young ladies from a Sister Foundation organization, of course, protesting along a great North Road, just at showgrounds there. Unfortunately, it is being discovered that a lot of them are members or active members of the Patriotic Front. Do you have a hand in this?
What? They are members of the Patriotic Front? Who's making such a false allegations? These are gay activists. They were seen at State House. They were seen at Lusaka headquarters collecting. How do they become Patriotic Front members? You should ignore these propaganda issues. Let's begin from what is important. Just the other week, the president addressed the nation on issues of principles and values, national values. And we have bemoaned that national values and principles under this government are falling. Our crafters of the Constitution are very, very clear. The reason they put it in the Constitution to compel the president to respond every year. He has to make an address. He has to show the nation the progress he has made on principles and national values. What are these principles? Who we are as a people. What are our religious values? We are Christian, we're a Christian nation. Up to 94% of our people identify themselves as Christians. And they, when they marry in church. When their child is born, they are consecrated in church. When they die, their casket passes through church. And prayers are said for their afterlife. 94% of Zambians identify themselves as Christian. We are a Christian nation. We are cultural. We believe our tradition and values should be respected. And these issues now are in the Constitution. They are not customary where they are just in our traditional laws. No, they are no longer just customary. They are now part of our fabric. Our Christian values are identified in the Constitution. Our tradition and culture are identified in the Constitution. And the president is compelled by law, Article 8 and 9 of the Constitution. He ought to report to the people of Zambia on the progress he has made. And when he addressed Parliament, I responded. I said the president is very lean on national values and principles. He has not condemned what occurred at the Lusaka July, a beautiful pageant for fashion in Zambia. Zambians and Lusakas want to go to the Lusaka July, but it was hijacked by these gay activists and homosexuals. And we didn't see any condemnation from this government. You have homosexuals now addressing you on social media every day. There is no single issue of the police even ordering such a page to be closed. In fact, those pages probably have more people than UNZA Radio or myself. So you are allowing people to glamorize homosexuality and homosexual, that it is normal. These people now are open. You can find them at shopping malls. There is no condemned it. We raised the lobby. There are workshops going on teaching people how to be activists, how to come out as homosexuals and gay. Their gay lifestyle should now be part of our fabric, and that Zambians, lady that was raped at a 17-year-old child who was unwell, teaching hospital to seek medical treatment, and the child was raped by a guard. Noble cause. The police issued a permit for their march. You could see from their dressing, from their posters and their songs, that the matter immediately became a gay parade promoting homosexuality. That is my private part. What I do with it, you shouldn't ask. Whether my private part is with another woman or with another man, it should never be your issue. We are glad that the police have moved in to arrest the 4 organizers. And we want to see prosecution. This government must enforce. They just can't be playing rhetoric where they are saying that they are against homosexuality. It's not enough to say you are against it. You have to act. It's against the law. It offends our religious values. It offends our cultural values. It offends our traditional values. It offends who we are as a people. And so when we see the approach that is far removed from enforcement, until there is public opinion, until we raise public opinion, that's when the police move in.
So now we have to also talk about the gay clinic, as it is called, at the University Teaching Hospital. But following these individuals or this guide to contest for Mwandi constituents on the PF ticket in 2016, 2021 elections, we've got another lady, Narishebo, who applied to contest on the PF ticket in Kawata. And if you check their social media handles, these are the Patriotic Front, and in most of their posts on social media, they are with the members of the Patriotic Front and in Patriotic.
No, that's propaganda.
So those are Photoshop.
Felix, no, they are not Photoshops. Felix Mtati was he worked with us. Is Felix Mtati PF? There are many ministers that are now with President Hakainde who worked with the Patriotic Front. Are you going to stigmatize them? Are you going to say because someone worked with us in 2016, therefore they are PF? I think let's not put labels. Homosexuality is illegal. Our country has made it very clear from Dr. Kaunda, President Chiluba, President Levi Mwanawasa, Rupia Banda, Michael Sata, Edgar Lungu, and Hakainde Hichilema, President Hakainde Hichilema spoken in church that will not allow homosexuality. If any member of UPND, any member of PF is participating in this, the law is very clear. It's against the law. The police should move in and arrest them. They should not hide under the colors of any political party. It's criminality, and we shouldn't excuse it. And for us as a party, we will not allow the propaganda and scandal to try to associate this issue to the PF. The gay clinic at the University Teaching Hospital, I've been writing and talking about government programs which we call sexual reproductive health and rights. Under those, they promote I have alerted government that embedded in their LGBT rights, LGBTQ rights. And you have to be very sensitive. Comprehensive education, sexuality, CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, CSE, the one they want to introduce in primary schools, targeting our children and adolescents. Again, I've warned that government has to be aware of these two programs. Sexual reproductive health and rights, number one, implemented under Ministry of Health. Comprehensive sexuality education, CSE, implemented under Ministry of Education. You have to be alert that these programs have in them embedded LGBTQ rights and abortion rights. So the gay clinic at the University Teaching Hospital is probably just called a youth-friendly clinic. That's what they call them. Just be aware. When you see a so-called youth-friendly clinic, especially set up by NGOs, this from the US or from the Netherlands, be aware. Government has to conduct supervision. Government has to conduct a very, very close scrutiny what occurs there, because what occurs there usually is abortions. They could be legal. These people have enough money to abide by the law where abortions can take place within the law. They'll get a doctor to say, the child is, or the adolescent requires abortion. Then they'll get the two doctors to sign over it. It becomes an abortion that is legal. So my appeal is for government to look at national values.
And the information that we have, because some of us are getting to know about
teenage pregnancies. And it's very important that, these children are attended to. In the event that they want to conduct unsafe abortions, we have to save at least the life of that child. So they come under that guise. But then they'll go to an NGO who will point them out. So, for example, if a gay person has an STD, they will tell them, no, go to that clinic at the University Teaching Hospital. It has services for young people, so they will attend to you. So nowhere in the document was it a gay clinic. It was a clinic for young people under sexual reproductive health and rights, a program this government is implementing. And my warning has been, can we scrutinize these programs? And I'm glad that, for example, comprehensive sexuality education has been suspended until at least there's consensus with the family, with parents, with teachers, with policymakers, and with government. We shouldn't implement these programs without that scrutiny.
So, in your opinion, what is wrong with a comprehensive sexuality education?
They embed LGBT programs. What are LGBTQ programs? They teach our children that the mother and father are not the only parents. You can have a mother and mother who are parents. You can have a father and father who are parents. They break down the traditional standards we know of parents. They also encourage our children that if you feel that you are a boy but you feel you are a girl, it is normal. And if you are a girl, you think you are a boy, it is normal. So there is a way in which the LGBT community is trying to introduce this perversion to our children. We think that those matters belong to adults, not to children. Do not teach these strange gender identities to our children. Let the children learn about them when they are adults. You can't teach our children homosexuality. You cannot teach. So that's our concern. And then the on comprehensive sexuality education is extremely graphic, because it's not your usual sexual education that you and me got under biology. It's not. It's extremely graphic. It targets children and adolescents from the period of grade 4 up to then, grade 12. And it's integrated. It should be learned in ordinary subjects, not a standalone subject. Parents in America, in UK, in Europe are rising against comprehensive sexuality education because they do not want their children introduced to these strange gender identities, strange matters.
Let's get to the other issues, the fight against corruption. The other day, you and Honorable Harikalaba met somewhere where you were discussing about, the forfeiting, is it the seizing of the assets, and also the arrest. What do you make of, the fight against corruption by the new Dawn government?
Let me speak briefly to my issue, because I do not want to discuss myself or use any platform to either launder my image or launder my so-called issue. I have a property, which the SEC claims they are interested in, set of flats that I've built over the years. And look, I am a man of means. I've been working at senior level for the last 20 years. So for me, I find that just an issue of persecution. And it's a clear example of how this fight against corruption is being fought. If Emmanuel was quiet, if Harry Kalaba was quiet, they would not come for those properties. When you personalize the fight against corruption, you begin to use it as a tool to oppress people. You begin to use it as a tool to fight people. Then it's not a fight against corruption. You are using the fight against corruption as a political tool to silence your political opponents, your political foes, your political, whoever you think is a political threat to you. Yesterday, they arrested the Auditor General. The Auditor General runs the National Audit Office, is at the center of an oversight institution in this country. We are aware that as soon as the Auditor General and his officers moved in to audit the hunting licenses, which was a dirty process, to move in to audit the procurement of fertilizer, where there has been massive corruption, millions of dollars lost to corruption, substandard fertilizer delivered to our people. When the Auditor General moved in the fuel sector, where there have been no national tender, since 2021, and the auditor wanted compliance to the law, we saw immediately that 5 directors from his office, from the office of the Minister of Finance, were suspended under the guise that there was an issue in 2019, 2020, where these allowances were paid because the particular officers never traveled to these areas. We saw a crackdown where 2 deputies to the Auditor General were immediately suspended and transferred to Cabinet Office. And now we have seen the arrest of the Auditor General. This is very, very clear that this government is using intimidation. We have a similar case of a judge from Mongo, judge in charge of Mongo High Court. First, they accused him of being PF. They forced him to recuse himself from the case of Mumbipiri. And consistently, they've intimidated that judge, which resulted in an arrest where the judge was arrested that while he was Commissioner of Lands, he entered into land issues where he then allocated the Patriotic Front the land for party head office. We see this use of intimidation by the president, where he wants people silent. So they do not want anyone exposing their corruption. They do not want anyone exposing the theft and fraud that is occurring in this government. One of your callers said this is a worst government. It's probably going to steal more than any other government in the past, and I agree with that caller. He's totally right. Just the other day, I went to the Anti-Corruption Commission to report a case of Mukushi mine. There's a mine that was owned by West African called Sako Mine. How this government have taken over that mine. People associated with this government. Senior UPND members are now owners of that mine. Someone associated with State House, with the First Family, is now the majority shareholder in that mine. And we saw young people who rose to protest against that mine, and people from Lusaka taking it because they want to, it's like a black mountain, they also want to have a piece of it. We saw how they were quickly arrested, locked up, and expelled from the party. These are whistleblowers. We saw how Muvita Nawa, who was a special assistant to the president from the party side, who had sided with the young people in Mukushi, how he was airlifted like a criminal from Solwezi into Mukushi. We saw the permanent secretary at Ministry of Mines and Development fired. We saw the case of Sujilite from Mwombe mine in Chembe district. 3 trucks left. 1 truck is worth $30 million of Sujilite. 2 trucks have disappeared. No word from the police. No word from government. They only impounded 1 truck. Of course, they fired some civil servant, 1 deputy permanent secretary, and 5 district commissioners. But that was a high-level theft because you had the police involved. The police secured the entire area for the period of mining that Sujilite. The 3 trucks were escorted from Chembe to Lusaka by the police. You cannot tell me that the people that were fired are the only ones involved. You cannot tell me why are they silent about the other 2 trucks. If 1 truck is worth $30 million of Sujilite, what about the other 2 trucks? We don't even know what is in those 2 trucks. And they want us to forget about it. They want us to show us this 1 truck, but what about the 2 trucks? So, mwebantu bakwalesa ubupupu bulechitika muri bubuteko bukalamba. I don't speak to disparage government. We provide checks and balances, but the nation ought to be alarmed with that, the level of corruption that is occurring at the moment.
You have said that the UPND are using the fight against corruption as a tool to silence, voices that are speaking like yours. But at the same time, we have seen UPND members, being arrested, others being expelled from the party. And as you have rightly put it, we have seen the permanent secretaries, the deputy permanent secretary for Wapula, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Mines, and the the district commissioners being fired as well, then how does it become, a tool to silence those that are speaking?
So the process should not be selective. We know the ministers that were involved. On the Mwamba mine in Chembe district in Luapula, I can tell you that this matter started last year, in February, when their deputy national youth chairperson led the protest to the mine. The deputy national youth chairperson led the group to protest that the owner of that mine only had an exploration license, but they were seeing trucks and trucks of sugilite coming out from there. It's a manganese mine, but apparently, when there's low formation of manganese and there's more iron content, I think the byproduct comes out to be that rare gemstone called sugilite. And this is a similar case even with the Mukushi mine. It's a manganese mine with copper, but essentially the byproduct is sugilite. Like the way emerald is formed, you see it on the copper belt. So there's similar formation with that mine. This man went and took a protest to the mine. He's the one that was arrested. Remember what he said? He was live. He said there are ministers from Lusaka who are involved in this mining of sugilite. There's the minister for the province who's coordinating this issue. Well, 1 year later, the same allegations stand. Nothing has changed. This information is not coming from PF. This is information coming from themselves, because there is scramble among UPND cadres who are trying to have a share of this looting. So those that are left out are the ones that tell us these stories. They are the ones that went to protest, like in Mukushi again. It's young people who feel that they've been left out from the looting exercise occurring at that mine. And they said high-level people are involved. So for the sugilite scandal, we call for proper investigations on
sugilite, whichever way that you want to look at it, it's a scandal, because according to the Minister of Mines, Honorable Pokabuswe, last week in Parliament, did mention that in Zambia, no one has a license for sugilite mining, meaning that everyone involved is doing it illegally. According to the minister, your party, 10 years in government, killed the mining industry.
Well, we did the opposite. For the first time, 2 major mines in this country belong to government, KCM and Mopani. And these are game changers. But what is the solution of this government? They want to sell them. They are busy scouting for buyers at mining indabas. They are in Australia, they are in Cape Town. They think that foreigners should come and buy these silver jewels of our country. They believe that they should be taken to foreigners should come and run them. They don't believe that we can run them. That's a problem with the UPND. They believe in foreign solutions. If it's not the IMF, it's foreign direct investment. They've no faith in you and me. They've no faith that Zambians can run those mines, even if we have the best engineers in the world, even if we have the best administrators of mines in the world. When you go to Australia, you go to Russia, you go to Canada, you go to the US, the people running these mines are Zambians. So we are the good training ground under ZCCM, where we have a good program here at the University of Zambia to do with mining. So we produce some of the best miners, both managers, geologists, and administrators in mining. It can be done. But our people have no such solutions. This government has no such solutions. And we just cry for our country that they think that the foreigner is the one that is going to bring even the foreigner is going to borrow wherever he's going to use the assets of Mopani and KCM, will present them to his bank. The bank will finance him, and he'll be a billionaire living in Hong Kong, in Paris, in Cape Town.
As we leave the issue of the mines and the corruption, because we have to get to the Ndola Lusaka dual carriageway, but before that, you started the the KCM liquidation process, and we saw a number of people losing jobs. This government is saying, the matters in court take so long to be disposed of, and we cannot mine in court. Do you think, their decision is right at this time? Because at your time, during that liquidation process, a lot of people lost their jobs, and this government wants to bring back those people to start working.
I don't know where you are getting those statistics. I think the liquidator did a good job, kept on running the mines, kept on paying contractors and suppliers, kept on paying workers, and KCM was running. So I don't know what you are talking about.
It is running at less than 30%.
Yes, because it needs capital financing. We need to invest in the mines.
So how do you keep workers if you are working on it?
You have to go to the history. So here is an investor called Vedanta. They buy a mine that is worth $650 million. They buy it for $25 million. Within a period of 3 months, they've made a profit of $100 million. And they've been minting millions from the owner's mouth. The owner of the mine, Vedanta, he confessed that he makes $500 million from KCM. None of that money came in our country. You have a deposit, one of the largest deposits in the world, Konkola Deep. It has copper and cobalt worth over $200 billion. So we had said the investor should develop Konkola Deep, because that presents the biggest opportunity for this country. If that mine is running, it has challenges. It's the deepest. It will form one of the deepest mines in the world, one of the wettest mines. Those challenges can be overcome with the current technology, and you can mine that ore. $200 billion worth of ore in that Konkola Deep. What has this investor done? Nothing. He degraded the assets. He began just to import concentrates from across, from the DRC, and processing them in Chingola. Mining over the last 20 years was reduced. The assets were degraded. And the assets, again, of KCM were used to borrow up to, is it $1.5 billion that he borrowed against those assets. And towards the last 5 years, between 2015 and 2020, the investor was using the resources from KCM to invest in other mines across the world. He bought a zinc mine in South Africa. He bought other mine assets in Eastern Europe. He began to use the resources from KCM to do that. So government made a decision. You are not paying contractors. You have a bill of $200 million to pay suppliers. You have taxes and liabilities owed to this government. You are not paying, for example, power utilities like ZESCO, where they had a debt of $50 million. He was a bad investor, and government made a decision. We might not agree with the decision, whether it was the liquidation, whether it should have been the cancellation of a mine, whatever process they took, but the decision was right, because KCM was in the hands of an irresponsible investor who was exploiting the resources, and he had a record of 20 years, of just literally stealing from this country. He was not paying taxes, suppliers, contractors, power utility like ZESCO and CEC. There were various issues. That is why we are alarmed by the announcement by the President and the Minister of Mines, where they are entertaining the return of Vedanta mineral resources to case. It's like kabola lalimi vila. Ai bana mwishwe wi vile fridge, stove, TV. But mwasai batiyo adi wafite winu. But you adi panwale tapitisha. Mulekeni abwele. That's what this government is trying to do.
And of course, talking about that, we understand, Mr. Mwamba, that this economy is a mineral-driven we depend much on the minerals for our economy. With what has been happening currently, are we heading somewhere?
No, not at all, because you have a government that is giving incentives, tax incentives. They are looking for $1.3 billion from the IMF, money they can raise here locally. If Sujilite, one truck is worth $30 million. And this was just 10 ton, because the 10 ton was in a 30-ton truck. What of 30 ton? How much is that worth? What of 100 tons? What if we mine? You have Kasenseli gold. Kasenseli gold is a huge gold mine. The mining is just, the gold is just on the surface, and it's just being looted right now. Why can't we mine it properly? ZCCMIH had gone in, invested in the area, fenced the area. They removed them. They removed ZCCMIH. ZCCMIH with local people, they can mine that. This government had begun to build gold reserves, because we have our national reserves worth $3 billion. They are kept in Switzerland. This government said, the PF government said, we need to build our gold reserves. The countries that have gold don't even have a single mine anywhere. What about us who have gold? And by the time the PF was leaving office, we had $68 million bought from gold here in Zambia, from small-scale miners, from those artisanal miners. You process it, you put it into gold bullions, and $68 million worth of gold is sitting at the Bank of Zambia. This government stopped all that.
Let's come to Ndola Lusaka Dual Carriageway. This is another, another program which has brought a lot of debate. Just your quick analysis.
We need the road, without doubt. We need the dual carriageway done. At the moment, is a death trap. We have people dying, the road is terrible, there are accidents everywhere, and this is one of our biggest economic roads. Where is the bottleneck? The manner of delivery. This road has been under procurement since 2017, so the need is not doubted. The PF identified it, looked at the volume of traffic that is going to DRC through our road, and that's going to the Copper Belt, that's going to Solwezi, and determined that we needed to do this road. As an economic road, we had decided that with the challenges we're having with issues of debt, with issues of our fiscus, we said we'll put it under PP because it's a road that can pay for itself. At the beginning, the PF pegged it at, first there was an initial contractor who was picked, Group 5 from South Africa, the ones that built Levymore. They proposed to do it with their own money for about $500 to $600 million. The process went, they did a feasibility study. By 2017, when they were mobilizing to come on, apparently the president and PF had gone to China and had presented the roads that they wanted finance on. And apparently the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway was among the roads that that the government had presented to China for project financing under that contractor financing, and so it was shifted from Group 5 then to a Chinese firm, and people talk about the $1.2 billion. So the scope was raised, where they said, look, if we are getting this cheap finance from China, then let's use the opportunity to do other things. So there are some things that are included on that road. The township roads in Kabwe, you know how Kabwe is. You've been to Kapiri, no township roads. Ndola is in a deplorable state, and Luansha. So they included 160 kilometers of township roads. They said, Lusaka has grown. We need an industrial city where people can set up these warehouses and industrial facilities. So 2 towns were identified, near Ndola and near Lusaka. For Lusaka, Chivombo was set up. Hence, you see those buildings that began to come up. They didn't just come up out of nowhere. The place had to be gazetted as an industrial city. So we're going to build 2 industrial cities in Masaiti and in Chivombo. Thirdly, there was going to be what is called a those frontage roads. So you will have the main highway. Then you have those smaller roads that go around. If you've been on the Kafue Road, from the roundabout from where Findeko is, you are going to Makeni. You see that there's a frontage road. So if you are just going to Karingalinga or Makeni or any of those shops nearby, you don't have to use the highway. So there was a frontage road all the way from Lusaka to Ndola. Then there's a road, a shortcut to, if you are coming from Lusaka, shortcut to Kitwe and Luansha. It's called Luansha Fisenge Masangano Road. That road is a very busy road, very important. It's totally dilapidated now, but it was identified because of how busy it is that it will also be a dual carriageway. RDA wanted a building done, their 5-story building that they are designed as their head office. So that was included. So the bill came to $1.2 billion in 2017. However, in 2019, with IMF on board, with the austerity measures that we're going through after doing a debt analysis initiative where we found that we could be debt distress, we did major decisions. Number one, we cancelled up to 8 projects that were 80% and below. We cancelled all of them, suspended them, that we'll finish them later. And we cancelled all monies that were piped to be borrowed. That was cancelled. So among the things that suffered was the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway. They put it in 2 phases. They said, we don't need the industrial cities, we don't need the township roads, we don't need all these issues, just do the road. So by 2019, that road was pegged at $700 million, not 1.2. By 2019, records are there, and RDA and government and the contractor were advised to reduce the scope and do away with these industrial cities, RDA's building, and the township roads in Kabwe, Kapiri, Ndola, and Luansha. So the road has been $700 million. Do we need it? Yes. Where is our objection to this road? It's very simple. The structure and model they've picked. They've said it will be a public-private partnership. But it is not, because they've picked private contractors, a consortium of 3 Chinese firms. These are state-owned enterprises where they come from in China. And they want to use money from NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board. And that's where our objection is. We've said this is then not a PPP. This is then literally is public, because here is government offering the road and you're also offering the money. Because NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board are created by acts of parliament. They hold public money, you and me's pension money. That's public money. Their boards are elected by the president. The managing directors are picked, they are under supervision of a Ministry of Labor. These are public institutions. The other side is arguing that these pension funds are investing in a road and they'll get a return for it. That is the argument. That is good value for the pensioners, and that we should allow that process to take place. We don't dispute. NAPSA and Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board invest in property. They invest in shopping malls. They invest in houses. It's known. Recently, NAPSA invested in one of the best hotels in Southern Africa, the Radisson Mosotunia. So what NAPSA did there is to identify the land, go into this agreement with a contractor, Stefanuti from South Africa. They built the hotel. Stefanuti has handed over. The hotel is complete. They hired one of the best operators in the world to operate the hotel. Radisson Blue is known worldwide. And the investment remains for NAPSA. The tenant Radisson Blue is now paying to NAPSA for the return of that investment. NAPSA spent about $100 million on that hotel. NAPSA recently built one of the beautiful bus terminals, I think the best bus terminus in Zambia. It has escalators, It has, a roomy, airy environment. It's modern, ultra-modern. That was built by NAPSA in Livingstone. So the bus services will be paying a fee to NAPSA, and NAPSA will get its money back. So can NAPSA invest? NAPSA can. So what is wrong with NAPSA investing in the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway? Our concerns is that, okay, you want these two entities to provide $400 million. They'll be paid back with interest. We were told it's 9%. You can calculate 9% of $400 million. It's literally nothing. Then the Chinese contractors for the next 22 years will repatriate their benefits back to China.
The Chinese contractors are also coming with their own money, and we are told that there are other financiers as well. Don't you think that is a fair deal?
No, it is not. From their own structure, look, if they want $400 million from these pension funds, we heard yesterday that the Chinese also will put equity of $270 million. But again, we heard that they are looking for another $200 million from other banks. The project already looks like it's $800–900 million. So if they have money, if the contractors are putting up $270 million and they want small monies from either bank, let them do it on their own. That's what a PPP is that the public, whose government, as a utility or government facility you want done, you get a private partner who comes with their own design to build, with their own finance. They deliver under a lease period. The concession agreement can decide, is it 5 years, is it 10 years, is it 25 years? Whatever the period, the private party should come with his money. Here, the private party is not coming with his money. The private party and government officials are forcing NAPSA to give them this money. They'll build the road, and the contractor will get money for the next 22 years. That contractor is not Zambian. They will repatriate those monies back to China. And here are some of the details. The Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway is a very lucrative road in Zambia. I think one of the most busiest road by traffic volumes. Feasibility studies were done in which it was ascertained that this road can raise up to $100 million a year. This is a feasibility study that informed government to begin the national tolling project. For the first time in Zambia, we saw toll plazas begin to go up, whether it was in Shimavala, whether it was at Katuba. We saw these toll plazas emerge because for the first time we recognized that we can make money just from toll plazas. You don't have to depend on the Minister of Finance. So the public, as a way of financing it through taxes, direct taxes, or through user fees, like if you are using the road. Since 2017, a small price was put for those toll plazas, just 20 kwacha. That's what all you pay. I think it's $20 for foreign trucks and foreign vehicles. We have to establish the other amount, but I know it's a 20 kwacha. From 2017, we've never increased. This road alone, I think, is earning us $20 million a year, the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway. When a commercial operator comes, a commercial operator will not charge you 20 kwacha. We should recognize that. A commercial operator will charge us maybe minimum 100 kwacha. That is why in their design, they've put more toll plazas. So the plazas are currently 3, there'll be 6. There's only one way bridge at Kapiri. They are introducing 2 more new way bridges. And remember, we also have the Luansha Fisenge Masangano. There'll be a toll plaza again there. So they are going to increase the frequency of resources revenue they can raise from that road. I think they are looking to actualize the $100 million a year revenue that is possible on that road. So we think that this is a rip-off against NAPSA. It's a rip-off. If this government is keen to use investment from NAPSA, is keen to use public resource from NAPSA, We can use a model called 10 Key. So the 10 Key project is what NAPSA has done to Mosotunia, Radisson Mosotunia, where NAPSA has the money, NAPSA then hires a contractor who builds and delivers the hotel, Stefanuti. Then you get an operator, Radisson Blue. They then run the hotel. That's a 10 Key project. In this case, if this government is keen to ensure that NAPSA funds are used, pension funds, our funds are used, turn it like that. NAPSA can hire AVIC to do the road. Now, AVIC will deliver the road in the next 3 years and will pay them the contract sum. And after we pay AVIC can walk away. The road belongs to NAPSA for the concession period. NAPSA will collect for the next 22 years after construction. NAPSA can use NRIFA like they are currently using, because over the period of the last 5 years when there was a crunch on money, we borrowed $26 million from NAPSA, 5.1 billion kwacha. And NRIFA is collecting from your toll, from their revenue from government, and they're paying back NAPSA every year. So the model already exists. People are saying, but there is no improvement on the road. No. The improvement on the road is you haven't brought a contractor to do that road. We haven't done a dual carriageway. The road has been under procurement since 2017. The road has not been done. And the money that NAPSA is being paid back is what it advanced RDA and NRIFA with, to finish those roads. So it can be done. That way the money remains in Zambia. The pensioner benefits, you not just benefit small interest of 9% on 400 million. NAPSA can raise up to $2.5 billion of resources from that road. But if we don't do that, that money will go to China.
And of course, this is UNZA Radio, Lusaka Star Radio program, a program which discusses issues affecting our communities. And unfortunately, we have to go, Mr. Mwamba, because we started a little bit late and we are 10 minutes into other people's time. But before we go, the latest development that Pamela, one of the suspects in Pamela Chisumpa's abduction has escaped after the prison break. What is your quick reaction to that latest development that we have received?
This is very sad because the abductors are associated to the UPND. Remember when this matter broke out, we demanded that they should be taken to court, that this matter should start. And we demanded that especially that non-officials who were associated with UPND were seen at the house. We think that the prison break that has occurred is very sad, and it will be put on government that they are trying to let one of their own suspects flee from justice. This matter, I think, outraged Zambians. We've never had abductions in this country, and a young lady and many other young ladies' lives were destroyed in that we don't even know how the recovery process is with the girls. And to hear that is on the loose, imagine the trauma to those girls. What are they thinking? What are they thinking if they know the man that was repeatedly raping them had held them up for a period of 4 or 5 months, is now out there in Lusaka roaming the streets? This is very sad. Our call is to the Minister of Home Affairs. If there is any time we need the Home Affairs Minister, it is now. If there is any time we need the police to act, it is now. Let them get the abductors, and we want them prosecuted quickly. Why is there such delay to prosecute them? So the break-in is unacceptable. Whoever officials were in charge must explain what has occurred. Our prison facilities are very, very, very secure, extremely secure. You cannot conduct a prison break in Zambia. So what has happened? How did it occur? Bamufumisha fyo yumuntu. Bamusenda bamutwala bamufumia. And that is our allegation. So the police should quickly act on this matter and bring the perpetrator back where he belongs, and the prosecution should take place and should take place quickly.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mwamba, for coming through. Your concluding remarks in less than 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I think the fight against corruption, for it to be noble, for it to be supported by Zambians, should be a fight that is non-selective, that is not used to punish political opponents, that is not used to silence people. Zambians do not like corruption. Zambians fight corruption. Zambians vote out people that are corrupt. But if you as a government are abusing the love Zambians have to fight and remove this cancer, you are worse. You are worse than even the people that are corrupt. Let this corruption be noble. Our people do not want corruption in our spheres. And for the callers, I listened. We started the program the other way around, where callers called in first. So I listened to all the calls for and against, and I appreciate the calls and thank you very much. And to our people, remain vigilant, be active. This is your country. No one will rescue it for you. It will not be Emmanuel Mwamba, it will not be Chimbakambwili, it will not be Hakainde Hichilema. It will be your own vigilance. Be vigilant, be protective of our resources. We have a country to build. We have poverty to fight. We have unemployment to fight. We have this high cost of living to fight. We have an economy to rebuild, but it can only be done with your vigilance. God bless you. God bless our country.
Thank you very much. And of course, that's where we end today's edition of the Lusaka Star.